Hello, and welcome to Cooking with Todd. This is Todd. For today's video, I have decided to do a shepherd's pie. Traditionally, it would be with ground lamb, and that would be called a shepherd's pie. But since I am using ground beef, that's going to make it a cottage pie. So, for this recipe, you are going to need 795 grams of russet potatoes. You're going to need 795 grams of Yukon Gold, which is 1 pound, 12 ounces. You are also going to need 115 grams of cheddar cheese. You're also going to need 115 grams of Parmesan, which is 4 ounces of each. You are also going to need 1 stick of butter, which is 115 grams. You are also going to need chives. You're also going to need black pepper, salt, and another ingredient I do not have out at the moment is some whole milk, or you can just use half and half, which would probably be a little better, which I might end up making that myself. You're also going to need 2 egg yolks, and you're also going to need 1 large onion, 3 to 4 medium carrots, 2 ribs of celery. I have 4 sitting out here because that was what was left on my stalk. You're going to need 3 to 6 mushrooms. You are also going to need some fresh rosemary and fresh thyme, 3 cloves of garlic, 1 kilo or 2 pounds of ground lamb or ground beef. You are going to need some tomato paste. You are going to need some all-purpose flour, which I do not have out here right now. You're also going to need some red or white wine. You're also going to need 285 milliliters or 1 cup of beef broth. You're also going to need some Worcestershire, and you're also going to need some frozen peas, which I do not have those out here right now. I'm going to go ahead and get all this put off to the side, and I will bring you back once I get ready to start the first step of this recipe. Okay, so to start this recipe off, what you're going to want to do is you are going to want to peel your potatoes. And I am using a serrated peeler here because, for one, it helps reduce waste versus just using a paring knife. And I like using the serrated peeler because it kind of gives me better grip on the item I'm peeling. And I'm just going to go ahead and peel these. I'm not even going to rinse them. And I'm going to set them off in a bowl off to the side. So while you're peeling your potatoes, you can go ahead and get your oven preheated to 180 degrees Celsius, which is 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is pretty much all you are going to want to do at this point, is just peel your potatoes and get your oven preheated. So I'm going to go ahead and just pause this right here, and I will bring you back when I get to the next step. Okay, so I got all of my potatoes peeled, and it only took a couple minutes. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is rinse these off, and I'm going to halve these. Okay, so I got these rinsed off, and how you're going to want to have these is like this. And since this one is kind of big compared to some of my russets, I'm going to just go ahead and have these again. So quarter these. And you're just going to want to go ahead and drop these after you have them, just right into the pot. Okay, so these are peeled and halved now, and I have them in my stock pot with cold water, and I have enough in there to cover them about 2 inches. And you're going to want to go ahead and just cook these until a paring knife stuck in it shows no resistance and it falls right back off. Okay, so now that that pot's on the stove and it's coming up to a boil, what I'm going to go ahead and do is peel my carrots, and then I'm going to rinse them off and set these aside. And I am just using a round cake pan today for a scrap bin. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut that bad end off, and then cut that part off. And now this end right here, it can be used in something like a vegetable broth. So you do not have to throw it away, but I am not in any need right now for a vegetable broth. So I'm just going to throw that in my scrap bin. And I'm going to go ahead and cut these ends off of these. Just like that. And put these off in my scrap bin. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the mushrooms. To do this, I'm going to go ahead and just cut the stem side off. Dice these fairly big, or slice these fairly big. Then I'm going to slice it in half again, like that. And then just dice these. So, like this. And then just like this. And I'm going to go ahead and set these off in a bowl that I have sitting off in the back. And I'm going to go ahead and just bring you back once I get done with this part. Okay, so the potatoes are done now, and I'm going to go ahead and just add in my stick of butter to the bottom of this pan so it can melt. And also, while this was boiling, I was preparing the other ingredients. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a potato ricer to get a smoother mash. You do not need to use one of these. And I am using this on its finest setting. Now some of these are kind of just a little hard still. I'm not really concerned about that. Okay, so my potatoes are riced, and I'm going to go ahead and just give these a quick stir. And I'm going to go ahead and grate in some extra sharp cheese. You can use whatever type you want. I am just using extra sharp because that is the type of cheddar that I like. And you're going to want 115 grams or 4 ounces, give or take. You don't have to use exactly this much, but I like my mash just a little on the cheesier side. Now this does not all have to melt. You're just going to want to try and get this incorporated. And I'm going to go ahead and just add in my milk right now. And that was 145 milliliters, or half a cup of whole milk. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side in the back of the stove so the heat from the oven and the other burners can go ahead and keep this warm and continue to melt the cheese. And I'm going to go ahead and just set these off to the side of the sink. Set that off to the side. And now I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera angle over to the stove. Okay, so I got the camera angle switched over, And I'm going to go ahead and just get these out of the package and in the skillet. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just press this out, and I will bring you back once that is done. Okay, so this ground beef's been going like this for about 5 minutes now, and I'm going to go ahead and just flip it up like that, and it has a nice crust forming, so I'm going to go ahead and just start breaking it up. Okay, so that's broken up now. I'm going to go ahead and just add in my onion and my mushrooms, and I'm going to give this a good mix to distribute everything. And you are going to want to cook this until the ground beef is completely cooked through and the onions are turning translucent. I will go ahead and bring you back at the next step. Okay, this has been going for a couple of minutes now, and it's not quite ready yet, but I'm going to go ahead and just add in my salt and pepper to go ahead and season this. And since my meat is very, very lean, I'm going to go ahead and add in about 1 to 2 tablespoons of some avocado oil. And I'm going to go ahead and add in about half a teaspoon of pepper to start, and about half to 1 teaspoon of salt. That's a little more than a teaspoon, so also I'm going to go ahead and add in my Worcestershire, and you're going to want about 1 tablespoon of this. That's why I'm not adding too much salt right now to start. And I'm going to go ahead and just give this a really good mix. Okay, so these are translucent now, and they're actually starting to fry since the vast majority of the moisture has been released. I'm going to go ahead and add in the celery and carrots and the herbs, which is the rosemary and thyme. I'm not quite sure about how much exactly. You are just going to want to do this according to your own taste. And you're going to want to mix this up, and you're going to want to continue to saute this for another 2 to maybe 4 minutes. Okay, so this has been going now for about 2 minutes. And I still think this needs just a little more oil. So I'm going to just push everything off to the side because I'm getting ready to do the next step. And I'm going to go ahead and just add the oil in right here. And I'm going to add in my tomato paste. And you're going to want about 2 to 3 tablespoons of this. Right about there is good enough. And I'm going to go ahead and add in my garlic. And I am going to get a small little rubber spatula to mix this around. And you're going to want to let this fry for about 1 minute. Right here in the center. And if stuff starts to stick to the bottom, that's fine. But you want to make sure that it does not start to burn. That will screw up all of this. So once this fries here for just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and just mix all of it together, and I will bring you back at that point. Oh, also at this time, you're going to want to get your flour prepared because that will be the next step. Okay, so this has been frying here for about 1 minute now. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up to prevent it from burning. And I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And I'm going to give this another good mix to incorporate. And you are going to want to cook this for about another minute. Looks like it's getting a little hot in that one area, so I'm going to try and be careful. I'm going to go ahead and deglaze with some red wine. And I'm going to go ahead and scrape the bottom of this really well. I'm also going to go ahead and add in my 1 cup of beef broth and give that another good mix. And you're going to want to go ahead and just let this simmer here until this all thickens up. Okay, so this is thick enough for me at this point. I went ahead and cut the heat. And I'm going to go ahead and just try and get everything that's maybe stuck on the bottom. This will continue to thicken up in the oven quite a bit, so I am not too worried about it being just a hair on the runny side. And I'm going to go ahead and just remove this completely off of the heat. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera angle back down to the counter and finish preparing the mashed potatoes. Okay, so I have this back over here now, and you can see that it's still, well, I can see, I don't know if you can, but it's still kind of quite hot, and that is in part to me having this on the back of the stove next to where the hot air from the oven comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and get some Parmesan cheese, and I am going to grate a little bit of it, not too much, just about maybe a 1/4 cup, a couple ounces worth, right about there. And I'm going to give this another quick mix. I'm going to go ahead and add in about 3/4 teaspoon of salt and about 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Normally I would use white pepper, but I'm actually just using black pepper for just a little splash of extra color. And what you're going to want to do, scoot that off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and take my 2 egg yolks, dump those off into a little bit of a bigger bowl. And I'm going to take a splash of whole milk and get a fork. And I'm going to go ahead and just beat this up really good. So right about there is just fine. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this back over. And I am going to dump this right in. And I am going to go ahead and add in some chives. And I am going to mix this until incorporated. And also another advantage of me keeping that this pot on the back of the stove is the remainder of the cheese that was in here has completed melting. And the only reason I'm adding the egg yolks is because this is going to be like a crust on the top of this, and this will just help it stay uniform and together. Alright, so that's perfect right there. I am going to go ahead and stir my filling part, which is the bottom section, and that has finished thickening up just while it's sitting here. So I'm going to give this a good mix, and I am going to go ahead and just level the top right off. Now if you would want to, you could go ahead and use a pie pan, but there is really no reason to use a pie pan because my dish can go in the oven just fine. And you're going to want to pipe this on like so. You don't have to do it this way, but it just makes it 10 times easier. And I'm going to go ahead and push the rest of this down. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the center. Okay, so I got that finished off now. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is just smooth it out. Just like this. And So right about there is perfect for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take a fork, and I am just going to run it right along the edge, just like this. And what this is going to do is it's going to give it a crunchy top, and it's going to help it get nice and golden brown. And just like that, I'm going to go along the edges one more time, just like that. And when it's halfway done, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out and grate more Parmesan on top. At this time, I am going to go ahead and just wrap this video up, as this is getting ready to go in the oven. You are going to want to bake this at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes. And then you are going to want to remove this at the 15-minute mark, and you're going to want to grate on some more Parmesan. So I'm going to wrap this up right here. Thank you for watching. I hope you smash that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a comment if you like this video. And as always, thank you for watching. And I hope you continue to come and enjoy watching me on this journey of mine. And as always, thanks for watching.